Ninetales says someone in this space right now is a fascist, and I want to know who.
Yeah, Dooby, the Pied Piper of Nazis.
Dooby is a fascist. That is your accusation?
He's the Pied Piper of fucking Nazis, yeah. No, I want to know why I'm supposed to believe that you don't purposely want to bring Nazis into the online space. How are we supposed to know that? Because you can just say it all day, but you're doing the opposite.
But they can literally just not go into the server. No, to be super.
No, because you're bringing the people from your server to other places.
And again, if the people that run those places don't want them there, they can ban them. That's their space.
I can't ban somebody in Whick's server if you bring them there. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, then go to another space. If Whick wants them in his space,
I kind of like Whick's server. I prefer if you didn't ruin it. Thanks.
Why are Jews represented highly in media? Because Jews be winning in media. Jews be making good films. They be making good business decisions. I don't understand where you're actually sitting on this position.
Do you think that's because they're Jews?
No, Dooby. I think your server's connections to other far-right spaces far outweigh the average Discord server connections.
We gotta let him answer answer the accusation. Then you.
Well, like I said, I don't know how much I'm interested in talking with Dooby because, like I said, he just fucking lies constantly.
You're right. I'm criticizing you for having no sense of accountability for your actions.
So I'm in Whick's community.
Grow up.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, come on, guys, if we're going to be so scared about Nazis, aren't I technically a Nazi? So you're already hanging out with one. Oopsie.
Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of the Death of Certainty Show, where we recognize no matter how right we think we are, we could be wrong. We should take that possibility seriously. We have a special edition of the show today, as we have the wonderful Amanda guest co-hosting.
Hello.
Yeah, and she's going to be offering us, if things go wrong, Canadian healthcare, right? So, but today we are giving special treatment, preferential treatment, to a certain kind of caller, to a certain demographic, if you will. We are letting people, and I specifically reached out to a few, who let's say have some problems with me, right? May have some criticisms, some contentions, and, to varying degrees, they want to air that out. They want to talk to me about that. So I've provided this as a space, right? Today, a platform where they can come and be heard. So today is the anti-Whick show. So if you, in the audience, right? So first of all, you can call in for any reason whatsoever. That's still on the table. But it is what it is. Dooby, welcome. We have a Nazi in my chat, gang, apparently.
Oh.
You've been accused. Portland was accused of racism. Portland came in to defend himself against those charges of racism.
Oh my God.
Would you like the opportunity, Dooby, to come in and to defend yourself against the criticisms that you are a Nazi?
Come on, hang out with the other Nazis.
Piper of Nazis, right?
Hello, Dooby. How's it going?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did listen to Polly and to Ninetales, and I'm really upset that Polly left. Actually, see, I don't think that Polly is very intelligent, but I would have been interested in letting her criticize me directly and
gang, if you were in contact with Polly, and if she's willing, and if she wants me to do I will mute while one talks and mute when the other talks. If she wants that level of moderation, I can give that level of moderation.
I can promise to be completely respectful and non-combative.
Okay.
If I'm a nice person, actually.
If Polly wants the opportunity, right, and I will respect her a hell of a lot more if she does, come on and
I think it's a good
tell
idea.
Dooby why she thinks he's a Nazi. She's more than welcome. But in the meantime, go ahead.
And to be fair to Polly, this is a criticism that I've gotten for 5 or 6 years now with the Discord server. Because at the start of the server, we did allow Nazis on the server, just like open Nazis. And I wish we could do that again, to be honest with you. I think it's extremely important to actually confront the ideas, confront the people espousing the ideas in an honest way, actually deal with the claims that they're making. and just remove the mystery from it. Like I said, I don't think it's that mysterious. I don't think that these things are hard to confront. I think Holocaust now is easy to debunk. Just go step by step. It's not that hard. All this shit's been debunked 1,000 times before. So like, I don't know. It's if the claim is that I spoke about like the disproportionate influence that Jewish people have in the United States. Not Jewish people as a class, but Jewish people as like the people that tend to own these larger companies in the record industry that Kanye comes from. It's top of the financial industry, the news media industry. A lot of these people are Jewish, and there are historical reasons for that. It's not, again, not a mystery. We know why Jews tend to go into these lines of profession. So if the criticism is that like me acknowledging that that's reality, and then suggesting that we do something to deal with this reality in a way that makes it more equitable, and it gets other voices into the mix here, and gets other perspectives into the mix. If that makes me a Nazi, like
well, you can to steel man
wonder
the
what
point.
Like the definition.
To steel man the point. That is kind of anti-Semitic, right? Like to suggest that these things are true. I don't think it's like, first of all, I think it's overstated. And this is one criticism I had of you on the panel, is I think you were overstating the overrepresentation. I absolutely do think that.
I don't know if it's anti-Semitic, especially even in like the official definition of the word. Because it's not suggesting that they shouldn't be in that position. Like you start to get into a gray area if you're saying like we need to get rid of the Jews from the music industry. Like that you're starting to bridge more on anti-Semitism, because you're being explicit in what you're saying should be excluded from the mix. I think that and I understand it's a really sensitive topic, but at the end of the day, if you can't make sort of like any commentary on sort of broad stuff, then there's always going to be this sort of level of protected class that like makes people feel kind of sus about Jews in the first place, because there should be a really strong like middle ground with a lot of protection because of the actual reality in some cases. But I think it's also important to recognize that there's anomalies, like there's some anomalies in a lot of different industries that can have different effects. And to the point that I was trying to make earlier, and the conversation about like who calls who a Nazi, like to kind of to what Dooby's saying, like exactly, like if that is the criticism that labels him a Nazi, then where are we drawing this line? Because I get labeled a Nazi for things. Polly said she got labeled.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I really am, but I'm going to. Dooby, can I ask you directly, why aren't you a Nazi?
I'm not a racist. I'm not in favor of removing any groups from anywhere. I'm not in favor. Well, I guess if we want to get like super pedantic, I'm not like German, right? But we don't need to go there.
Why are you not rude?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not like in favor of any kind of racial superiority. I guess you could say that I'm like a nationalist. I'm definitely a nationalist, and I definitely have some ideas that people would consider authoritarian. Actually, I would just say some of them are authoritarian, but so does everybody, right? I wonder like where the line is. So if I am a nationalist, I'm like a very pro-American person. That doesn't mean I'm okay with just like going around and hurting people for no fucking reason, or conquering countries for no fucking reason. I'm not that kind of nationalist. I just think that America should do what's best for Americans. Like that's I mean I'm in favor of lots of policies that Nazis would think are fucking terrible. I'm totally in favor of legal immigration from all over the fucking planet. I think we should encourage race mixing. I think that we need to do away with the problem of race by mixing more. I think that's a good thing, right? So like I don't know. I think that like, and like I was saying on the panel, I don't think it's like there's anything inherent about Jews that leads the people at the top of these organizations to behave in like a nepotistic way. I think every group is nepotistic, right? It's just how groups operate. So there's nothing inherent about Jews. This problem exists among white people too, and it's something that the left points out all the time about white people in these corporate positions, all the fucking time, right? But suddenly, if you point to another group that is doing similar things that has disproportionate power, suddenly you're a fucking Nazi. Like I don't understand where the line is.
You see how these are disanalogous in a way, and just to push back on you here, like the power, right? Like white people are not at risk in the same way that Jewish community is. They're just not. So the critiques do not hit the same, right? And white people are not in the positions they are for the same historical reasons. You alluded to this at the beginning, right? That the Jewish people, right, went into a lot of these industries because that's the only, they were pushed into these industries. They did not have a choice. So I do not think it's a one-to-one comparison to say, we criticize this group for doing it, and so we should criticize this group for doing this.
I think
it ignores the context.
Yeah, I think 50 years ago it might not have been, but I think today, I don't think it makes sense that Jews in the United States are like the suppressed class of people. They're absolutely not. They're doing much better than even white people on average in the United States. In education, financially, generational wealth, they're doing much better than white people, right? So you could say, hey, maybe they're at risk because anti-Semitism is a thing. Sure. Okay, but it's not very prevalent in the United States. You say that there's an increase, but if you look at the actual numbers, it's not very many people being affected by this, right? It is massively overblown. Like a lot of these things are massively overblown. So, and even if it were the case, right, that they are at some risk, right, more risk than white people, more risk than black people, because of their identity in the United States. Even if that were the case, I don't think that makes them immune to criticism. To say that, I don't think that means that we can't point out that, hey, the people at the top of a lot of these ladders tend to be Jewish, right? And if we're going to be about inclusivity and diversity, that needs to apply to them too, right? We can't just say, hey, it's totally fine that if you look at the corporate boards of most media networks in the United States, you're going to find like mostly Jews, and there's nothing wrong with that like inherently. But if we're going to push for diversity, if we're going to push for inclusivity, it needs to apply across the board.
May I ask?
Otherwise, it is racist.
May I ask, and I want your permission before I do this, right? If people wanted to come and confront you directly about these things, would they, like, not just Polly, but others in my chat or in my Discord?
I don't mind.
You don't mind?
And like I said, I know that I can be abrasive sometimes, a little bit, like a tiny bit, a smidge. I will do my absolute best to be totally non-combative. Okay. Should I turn on my camera?
Please. The tribunal is convening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be heavy-handed with the moderation here, right? So try to be brief in your criticisms, but be thorough. And you must give Dooby a chance to respond. He will be brief in his responses, and he will, and I will enforce this, hear you out. So, weaponized discourse is going through the waiting rooms. And Wubby D, when they're ready, bring them on, and stick to the critics, right? Dooby needs no defense except for himself. Stick to the critics for now. So Ninetails, you called last night Dooby the Pied Piper of Nazis. Here he is. Go ahead.
The Pied Piper himself.
Yes. So first of all, I just want to double check my audio's okay. And I just want to apologize if any feedback comes through because my headphones aren't working, so I'm playing this through speaker. So it's up to Discord to filter that out. Yeah, my general concern is not with your server itself. I think there was a legitimate criticism with how it was named politics and how a lot of unassuming people joined into a place that was full of Nazis without realizing it due to its name and being present from the beginning of Discord. That's actually how I wound up joining, funnily enough. So there is a criticism of that, but I'm not here for that. My real criticism is that you tend to exist in other panel spaces like this. And you seem to bring with it both people who are outright Nazi/fascist/reactionary, because all three of those qualifiers count here, but also ones who may act like they're not for a very long time, but target people behind the scenes. And I don't think you have any way to account for that. And I think simply doing this carelessly because it gives you a sense of righteousness is really hurting a lot of people who don't have as big of a voice as you to express this. We're receiving a lot of denial, a lot of gaslighting for even trying to point out that this is a problem. And frankly, if you do continue to go to other spaces, I don't think you can say that you aren't making those spaces less safe for the people there.
So I'm going to try to expand on that and zoom in a little bit because I think that there is something there, but I think you miss it a little bit. So I don't think it's my presence that brings people along. In my community is not like a fan community, right? They shit talk me constantly. That is part of the culture actually, hating on me.
Well, can
So
I just may I
sure, go for
ask
it.
something? Because I've been in a lot of communities where that's a culture. Wick, I throw jabs at Wick all the time. Hopefully, he knows it's only half serious at best. And I just want to know how you can tell the difference and how you know that those people who hate you aren't going to those places to ruin them just to spite you, for instance.
So let me give you an example of what I mean by like I hate. I don't mean like just like friendly jabs. I mean like, so for example, a few days ago, I had a big debate, a big public debate on the server with a couple Muslim guys, about Islam and Aisha and sexual slavery and a few different interpretations of like hadiths in the Quran. And it was like a huge shit show, right? Me and these other Muslim guys. And after that, I changed my name on the server to Allah, right? Like the Muslim like version of God or whatever. And I've been getting death threats for the last like 4 days from people on the server, who just hate the fuck out of me, demanding that I change my name. I'm not going to do it, but I also don't punish them because I don't care. It doesn't bother me, right? Like that's the level, right? It's not like a friendly jab. It's you're going to hell. Fuck you, you f word, blah 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 blah, right? In my DMs constantly for like the last few days. So I don't think if these people were to like come to a community after me, I guess that's a possibility, but I'd be like, I'd I'd have trouble believing that it happens like very often. I feel like it'd be very rare. But to like the thing that I was gonna like steal man your point with is, I do try to bring people from my server into Twitch. I ask people to come on all the time, but Discord people are not Twitch people, so it's very difficult to like make that actually happen. Um, because they just don't get the Twitch or panel space at all. They don't like the TOS. They don't like the moderators. They don't like anything. Right? So it's very rare. But I would bring more people on here, who are like hardcore, like fundamentalist Muslims, or hardcore fundamentalist Christians, or hardline conservatives, or fascists, or like fucking authoritarian like communists. I'd absolutely bring them to the Twitch space, and I've been trying to, because I think it's important for these ideas to be expressed and dealt with in a public way. I don't think it makes any sense to push these people into smaller communities where they radicalize each other and get no pushback from anybody. I think people need to challenge them, and I think that you need to have the tools to challenge them, and the way that you get that is by interacting with them in a space where it doesn't actually do a lot of harm. Right? Nobody like if I have Haas on my server, and I've had him on a bunch of times, right? He's a very like tanky like communist. I don't think we're actually doing any harm. I think what's actually happening is we're giving the community a chance to interact with ideas that they don't hear very often from somebody who's really good at expressing them and is able to push back, right? And they're challenging the worldviews in the same way that they're challenging his. And that's what the goal of the server is. It's that there are no golden cows. We want everybody to challenge every belief they have all the fucking time.
So my thing is that you said that you would bring in radicals from like all sides of the aisle, essentially. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not
So
just radicals, but like anybody. I think there are a lot of people in my server who are amazing debaters, very very intelligent people that I think would add a lot to the space. So I'm not like specifically choosing radicals, but I feel like most panels I've been on, and just like the Twitch space in general, is like pretty like I think you're gonna disagree with me, but I feel like it's pretty like lefty, right? Like pretty center left, if we're being like super charitable, but it's very left. So anybody you can bring on to like to rock the boat a bit, I think is a benefit to the space.
So my problem is that like most people would agree that in if you want to talk about how there's violence on both sides, then you have to talk about the extremists on both sides, the fundamentalists, uh, the radicals, the ideologues, the ones who are going to take their ideology to action against another group of people. And I think you're playing with fire personally. As you said, you've received death threats for doing relatively benign things. And I think that by creating that exposure without any sort of like controlled interaction, you're actually contradicting the whole point of de-radicalizing people, which is to protect the greater society. So by you exposing these people to other communities that aren't made for what you're doing specifically, you're forcing other people to play with the fire that you're playing with, and I think that's highly irresponsible.
I think people on this platform and in other Discord servers that I might visit have all the tools they have to get rid of these people if they don't want them there. So if someone does follow me and they're like a crazy radical, right? Get rid of them. Like that's fine.
Okay.
Let's point out you're creating.
I'm going to interject.
If I may have a very quick. You're also creating the circumstance where they have to ban somebody first, right? So there's an initiation of violence before the reaction.
I don't, again, so if somebody follows me from the community, right? Wait, are you talking about people following me or people that I bring in intentionally?
People that follow you from into the communities that you present yourself in.
Well, again, I can't be held responsible for that. Like if my existence,
that's why I said I think you're irresponsible. So I rest my case.
It's not. Yeah, unless you're suggesting that I should stay in my server and go nowhere else because if I go into any other space, someone might follow me. Right? There's a 1% chance someone's going to follow me. Like I feel like that's kind of like a ridiculous standard to set.
Okay, so long as we seem to agree that you're actually being irresponsible with this. So as long as we're clear on that.
I don't think that's irresponsible. I think you have an unrealistic standard.
Before we get too far into this, right? Tuna Chip wanted to come in to back up Ninetales. Tuna also had. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Doobs, you're a nationalist. You talk about race on stream. The only thing that's like separating you from Nazi, not the actual meaning of the word, but the thing that people are calling you, is that you're a little soft on it, right? It's the fact that you're playing like right on this fence. So I think what people really want you to do, and the real call to action is, hey, we need someone to be the Nazi. We need someone to be the bad guy, to be the heel. Why aren't you stepping up to the plate? Queen Alexa ain't taking it. What are you taking?
So if you want like an actual Nazi, I can find you some. But I'm kind of curious. So you said like, I talk about race on stream. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so if you're going to have the discussion, if you think that platforming the discussion, talking about like the predominance of Jews inside of businesses and to talk about this like relation between people, when you go on stream, you are like having those discussions. People want entertainment, man. They want to know. They want an evil person to bash up against, and you're not willing to give it to them. So are you an entertainer? Are you trying to be yourself on stream? What are you doing?
No, I'm just not a Nazi. So the way that I speak about Jewish, like disproportionate Jewish influence or representation in like the top level corporate positions is the same way that lefties talk about white overrepresentation. And it's true. It is a problem, right? So if we want to push for a diverse society and inclusive society, these spaces need to be open for negotiation. And they're states.
They're different narratives altogether. By the way,
I don't agree with that at all.
They're equivalent.
There's already legislation on the books in some states. Hold on, that have pushed to diversify the corporate boards, and I think that's a good thing. I want that to happen. So is it just that talking about like Jews being overrepresented in certain sectors, does that make me like a Nazi or Nazi adjacent?
No, it's that you blur the lines between saying that they're highly represented and the idea that that's a bad thing when you say overrepresented. So this idea that there needs to be an equal representation, that's stupid. That's weird. We live in a meritocratic society. People are more skilled. People are individuals. People have like experience as individuals. Now, if you want to say certain people are in positions, you want to call it certain people in positions that shouldn't be in them due to, like family favors or something, you can do that. But you got to do the fucking research. You got to point to the real people, or you have to admit that the real thing here is that you have this sentimental thing that you're able to lean on, saying, "Oh man, we sure need more X inside of career Y." I just don't. You're playing this like weird in between where you're not willing to admit that you think that people need to be like racially distributed, equal to the society, regardless of the job. Like if we're talking about politics, maybe, but even then. Just like to talk about it in entertainment of all places. Why are Jews like represented highly in media? Because Jews be winning in media. Jews be making good films. They be making good business decisions. I don't understand where you're actually sitting on this position.
Do you think that's because they're Jews that they're winning, quote unquote?
No, man. I think it's that they are individual. Like I think it's probably that they're being born into families that are encouraging them to go in those fields.
Right.
But that's not
families
due to them being Jews.
Yeah, okay. So families with that are encouraging them to go into these fields, that maybe have a family history, because there is a lot of nepotism in these industries, of other people in these fields that might give them a leg
Isn't
up. So it's not really,
nepotism if you're actually
please,
qualified?
hold on. So it's not really meritocratic. I don't think we have a meritocratic system in the United States. I'm very surprised. I mean, maybe you're not a lefty. I don't know you, but most lefties, I think, would agree that the United States is not a meritocratic system. There is a lot of there are lots of ways that people are starting on unequal playing fields, and in some sense, that's okay. We can't expect there to be a totally equal playing field, but I think when the amount of the disproportionate representation is this much, I think there's an argument for saying, hey, we should probably do something about this and try to get people on a more equal level. And if we can't get them on an equal level to start, maybe, somewhere along the way, we should put in a policy to say, hey, we want a culture that is more diverse, more inclusive. So we're going to favor these people in these positions. We're going to incentivize these people in these positions. And if at the end of the day, that still means that Jews are like 70, 80% of this sector, that's fine, right? So long as other people are given the opportunity to be there and give their perspectives and be in these spaces.
I don't know whether or not you think the United States and then the private corporations that exist inside of them and the industries that exist inside of them are the same thing. But like, I think that's like, you're really missing the mark if you think we're trying to say that the United States as a government and being not so meritocratic, it having some corruption. Like, what do you mean by that? You mean like the whole economic field? Are you an anti-capitalist? What's your point?
No, I'm not an anti-capitalist. I think the whole system. So whether it's like the government and the private sector, there are a lot of people I know that are being born in positions where they have just way more opportunity than other people. And again, in some sense, that is okay. We can't expect to just like equal the playing field at the start. But if we can recognize that there's a discrepancy here, and that the discrepancy is being called by historical either oppression or historical like opportunities that were given to some that weren't given to others, then we should level that playing field in some ways. Like not to start, but
why?
Because I want an inclusive society that doesn't just have like white people and Jews at the top because they happen to, by circumstance of birth, be born into a situation where they have more access to things.
So I'm sorry, I was being too soft when I called you the Pied Piper of a Nazi. You're just doing JQ. You're definitely a Nazi.
How is that JQ?
That's definitely
okay. JQ. Hold on. So when lefties argue that they're like that we need more diversity in like corporate positions,
if your claim is that this is a response against Jewish entitlement, let me tell you something. You're not doing anything by putting more Nazis on Twitch. Okay, you're not doing anything by making them feel better about themselves. They have to work out their own shit. Okay. Like I said, I'm totally fine with you having the server and isolation and stuff like that. But we don't need someone to save them who's just going to fucking play into their stupid ass talking points.
Okay, so again, I don't think this is a Nazi talking point. I'm really curious because I feel like...
I think you're only saying that because it's politically expedient.
No,
it is a midwit talking point. It is like a silly talking point that is begging a question that is contradictory with your whole like point.
What's the question that's being begged?
The point you're begging this, like you're taking this idea. The Jewish question is the one being begged because you're saying that whenever people are in prominence inside of a position, whenever people are represented more than their general population, that is a problem. Can you explain why people being represented more in like a business field matters?
Hold on, housekeeping, gang. Housekeeping for a minute. First of all, right? Thanks, gang, for watching. Thanks, Dooby, for being willing to do this because accusations have been leveled. If you guys want to join the discussion, which is heating up and we're getting more people, please do so. Also, feel free to donate because I need your money. Bits.
Yeah.
All good.
Whick needs the money. He needs to fix that teeth.
I'm just saying, Dooby, you seem extremely reliant on people that you're talking to being leftists and being like anti-capitalists or anti-America in order to agree with your points. But that's like a weird cudgel. You're like taking advantage of like an argument that hasn't even been proven. Do you even agree with the argument that representation needs to be equal based on what race? Just because of like race? I don't understand why entertainment would need to be equal.
Well, you're not. Well, that's because you're not engaging with what I said. Right?
Okay.
So first off, I'm not an anti-capitalist. I'm very much a nationalist. I think I made this very clear. So I think that
be the same.
One of the ways that I am a nationalist is that I think that America needs to be a diverse society. I think it needs to be more inclusive. I think we need to recognize the results of like generational oppression. And if some of those results is that Jews tend to be more overrepresented in the banking industry, for example, and this leads to other groups not having as much influence there, not having as much say, not being able to provide their perspectives in this industry, then yeah, it's something that we should amend, right?
Why?
And if you, because I think that we can't like look at people as like how do I explain this to you?
Don't you recognize that that's inherently against capitalism and against
I think identity matters.
America?
Hold on. I think identity matters in the same way that if these industries were dominated just by like 100% white people, I think that matters. I think that if you're growing up in a similar like upbringing, culture, tradition, it's like all the people around you, you're not really going to understand the black and brown people who didn't come from that culture, tradition, and upbringing. And I think that because we have such a diverse society, I think it makes sense for the levers of power to have diverse people holding them.
But are the levers of power, as you describe it, actually supposed to be meritocratic, which is like a capitalist belief, or are they not supposed to be? You're not drawing this line.
I don't think they're meritocratic right now. I've told you like 3 times. I don't think this is meritocratic.
Why do you like capitalism then? What's good about it? Why are you a pro-capitalist?
I'm not like I think you're like, I'm not like an ANCAP or something, right? When I say pro-capitalist, I'm Whick, we've had arguments about this before. I'm totally okay with the government nationalizing certain industries that I think would be beneficial for the nation, right? Like for example, the internet, or like gas, for example, like the fuel industry. I think that there's certain areas where there shouldn't be a profit motive, like healthcare, college education, right? So I'm not like a capitalist in that like I'm like totally like pro the individual doing whatever the fuck they want, all the fruits of your labor, et cetera, et cetera. I think we need to be aware of the social context and of the impact to the rest of the people in your community.
I'm telling you right now, man, I don't think that you're a capitalist. Like, I just don't, and I don't even mean this in like an extreme way. I think that like you're saying that you're a capitalist, but you sound a lot more like a lefty, and like part of this like organized system thing. I don't think that like, I don't understand why you like America so much if all of these things that you see are problems. The only thing that makes sense is that there are a couple of things that work together. The thing that we have now is a good power system and needs to stay kind of the same, but be changed in these small ways, which always incentivize government power. This is why I think that people think you're a Nazi, right? Because you want to privatize industries, concentrate power, and move forward and like wrinkle out a free like market. Now that's
honestly, I have a question. It goes off of this.
Industries
please.
I want to privatize.
I do want to let other people in just real quick.
So just to follow up on something he said, I was being super patient.
You can, but after your follow up, we need to give space to both Yamato and Chris.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, agreed.
So you said that you don't feel responsible for what happens if you put yourself in other communities. I'm just curious, if, say, a Nazi were to become popular because they started in your community and then went to another community that they found out about you, would you not feel responsible at all for making a Nazi, say, popular and viral online?
No. So this has already happened, actually, sort of. But he's not a Nazi anymore. I wouldn't call him a Nazi anymore. So 𝓓𝓮𝓻𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓪, who I think something.
Oh, okay. That's debatable
actually,
for sure.
Well, he used to be way more far right,
huh?
Both of them, right? To the point where it's a funny story. He actually owns my friend Teo, who's like a Nigerian guy. He owes him like $100 actually, because years ago, when the fucking Charlottesville riots happened, right, and the Unite the Right thing happened, and I think it's Heather Heyer was like murdered by that fucking idiot in the car. 𝓓𝓮𝓻𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓪 was like totally in favor of Unite the Right, totally in favor of those groups, and was fucking sure that that the guy wouldn't be prosecuted, right? So, and he came from my community years ago, made his own platform, and now he's like pretty well known in certain spaces, right? Like on Cozy One. So, but I wouldn't call him a Nazi anymore. He's definitely not as far right now as he was back then. And I think that's a good thing. But if somebody hops into my server, is like super far right, is a Nazi, and then hops into some other community because they saw me in there and gets popular. Again, that's not really. I can't really be held responsible for people's inability to convince Flamenco out of his ideas.
Well, it's like I said, that you're playing with fire, and you're going to other communities and forcing other people to play with the fire that you're playing with, to the point where it affects the larger online space. And to say that you're not bringing Nazis into this space is, I think, delusional.
Do you think I'm being forced right now?
I think that if Nazis come to your space, you're going to be forced to deal with it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, forced in the most like weird sense of the word, right? Like I'll be forced to.
I just answered your question, Whick. So, I just gave you the answer.
Okay. I want to give space to Chris and Yamato. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what type of reverse psychology psyop Tuna was trying to do against Dooby. He's not a lefty. Like, I don't know why you even ran down that logic. That's kind of ridiculous. I don't know how many times Dooby has to tell us exactly who he is for us to actually believe him. Like, he's not lying about anything. He's super honest about his community, what his goals are, everything. Right? We know what it is. Like, this isn't new. So like, we just have to accept that the people who run these spaces are like, they know what it is. Like, this is a maximization of the entertainment value of all these things, and it is playing with fire. It is dangerous, but like, by now we all know, like, this is like what these people in these spaces sign up for. This is what they want. So like, I mean, what are we going to get at? What exactly are we getting out of this? If there's no incentive for the change to happen that you want to happen, especially from the audience members, it's just not going to happen, right? If the audience,
no, I want to know why I'm supposed to believe that you don't purposely want to bring Nazis into the online space. How are we supposed to know that? Because you can just say it all day, but you're doing the opposite.
The goal, if to bring them into space, is probably to either hear from their point of view or de-radicalize them. Sometimes we can admit de-radicalizing doesn't always fucking work, right? And it's just a Nazi in the space. But you know what we do? We fucking ban those people.
Victims of Nazism are the ones who pay for when it doesn't work, not Dooby.
Well, we know this.
You don't think Dooby knows that?
Yeah, and I think being nonchalant about it shows how absolutely vile this is.
We know this.
I think that's a weird slippery slope, though.
Don't you think, though, also like it is important to have a de-radicalization space, because
for people who know what they're doing and not bleeding this into the rest of online politics, yes. But talk to Vivian Wolf. She'll actually educate you on how to do this and how.
For sure,
yeah,
but how
the way Dooby is doing it is absolutely wrong. I'm guaranteeing.
How can you But that's exactly it. Like, Dooby's just a random frog on the internet. So how can we trust that this frog went to that frog school to get that frog education? Like, at the end of the day, he's just a person.
I don't know.
So,
yeah, I'm exactly not, and I don't want him in other spaces because
I don't know about that, but like I did.
He's exactly not, and that's why I don't want him in other spaces.
Dooby does have connections to talk to like people like Daryl Davis, who does de-radicalize people. Now, whenever I bring up Daryl Davis, there'll be some people that say it doesn't work, or he's just, the C word that I'm not gonna say, or anything like that. But like
a cuck-Canadian.
Cuck-Canadian, whatever. Yeah. But like, you don't think that he's brought these people that de-radicalize into the space to help de-radicalize people? Because it was like, thanks to Dooby, I got to speak to Daryl Davis, right? But like, are you saying that like that doesn't happen behind the scenes, and it's just a Nazi server and fucking nothing but swastikas get posted in like hidden chats, and it's all just a game?
There's never a real discussion being had, and it's just a bunch of memeing and shit posting all of the time. And there's very, very few downtime where there's little violence going on. Yeah, I don't think people are being de-radicalized. I think it's a giant echo chamber and a circle jerk.
I am trying to have an actual conversation, right? Or at least have you all have an actual conversation.
Step off for a while.
But I can't.
Or not, I won't step off, but I'll step down for a while.
Okay, but that's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying here, right, is that I am allowing people who have serious criticisms of what Dooby is doing to come on and confront him and question him directly. If it doesn't end up being a real conversation, that's on you, gang, right? That's on you. So... yeah. Carry on.
Wait, you don't think this is a real conversation?
Wait, can I ask a question? So how, like, Nine Tails, I think you've spent some time on my server, and I know I think I've told everybody on Twitch this. My server is not for everybody, right? It is a very aggressive place. You're gonna find lots of people who hate you for who you are, and are extremely excited to tell you about it. So I've been very open about that. But I don't like. How would you say that it's an echo chamber? Like, we have a very, very diverse community. Like,
Because it's a
politically,
dehumanizing
ideologically.
climate.
Wait, hold on. Dehumanizing who?
What does that mean?
The people who are at the butt of the jokes going on there.
Everyone? Yeah,
You
like
can
everybody
say,
gets shit
say
on by
that,
everybody.
but
Like,
there is a particular majority who feels rather impervious.
who?
The normative majority. I don't think race actually matters on your server. It doesn't seem like, but every other minority seems rather excluded, or if not silent.
Are we
Wait, what do you
talking
mean
about
race isn't matter on the
trans?
server?
Are we
Like,
talking about like trans people being excluded? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying that, okay, so with your server, I'm saying it's not a place to de-radicalize people. With the broader community, you make it unsafe because people who would otherwise avoid your server no longer can.
wait, they can literally just not go into the server. Now, to be super
No,
clear,
because you're bringing the people from your server to other places.
And again, if the people that run those places don't want them there, they can ban them. That's their space.
I can't ban somebody in Whick's server if you bring them there. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, then go to another space. If Whick wants them in his space,
I kind of like Whick's server. I prefer if you didn't ruin it. Thanks.
There are plenty of like lefty safe spaces on the internet. Like, you can go there if you don't want to talk to these people.
I'm pretty sure there's plenty of
everything you can to downplay what you actually do. Thank you.
Oh, listen.
I don't think I've downplayed anything.
I don't think he downplayed
Yeah,
anything.
he's been completely fucking honest. He doesn't downplay anything. I agree with Chris. He lets people know exactly the type of fucking person he is. He's just been extremely honest.
Literally said there's zero responsibility. I don't know how you can't think that that's not downplaying it.
That's his belief, right? He believes he has zero responsibility.
I don't care if it's his belief. Like, it's stupid. I don't know how anybody who isn't.
I guess maybe explain why it is my responsibility. So if I go into a space like this one, right, and I don't visit
you can't have it both ways.
I don't visit Whick's server often, but when I do, if someone from my server decides to pop in and they're just a piece of shit, right? Why is that my responsibility?
Because you can't have it both ways, where you're claiming that your de-radicalization is harmless while you're also spreading people who may be radicalized into other communities that aren't inherently radicalized.
Wait, okay, so my server is not a dedicated de-radicalization space. Like that's not what it is.
Well, then stop claiming that there's any benefit to it. No, sorry. If it's not, then I don't. Then it's not. Then you can't. You can't fall back on that.
So is it? All right, listen.
It's facetious.
So this
and it undermines the people who do real work.
This might come as a stretch, but is your server like just a place for people to come and shit on each other so they can get some type of understanding about one another through shitting on each other?
What is this getting an understanding about each other? How do you know that?
Well, it's important to get an understanding.
I'm asking a question.
How can any of us quantify this though?
You can be there and you can see it. So the way that I
basically just framing this that way, it's better for him. Sorry, I'm done. I really am done.
The way that I think of my server is like an online bar, right? Where people come in, they want to yell about the shit they saw on TV or on YouTube, and they yell at each other all day. And eventually they get tired of yelling and they have actual like decent conversations. It does happen, definitely happens. And I've been there long enough to see lots of people come in just like totally hating a certain religious group or a minority group or whatever. But eventually these people are in the community, they're not going anywhere, you need to interact with them, and you start to see them as human beings. And I think that's the key to de-radicalization. My server is not like a dedicated de-radicalization space, but it definitely happens in the community. It just, when you're interacting with somebody every day and you're talking about, beyond talking about the political news of the day, you're talking about life and the things that you like and the experiences that you've had, I think you're going to need to see them as a human being at some point, and that definitely happens.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, because at the end of the day, like, people are less scary if you're thinking about even in the case of other communities, like you'll have, because we have this conversation, we have all this idea about what you think a trans person is based off of sort of broad stereotypes and assumptions, but then there's the reality of what an actual trans person is like, in the same regards that like you have ideas about what Jewish people are, but if you actually have conversations with Jewish people, it's going to be a different experience. So if you create an environment where you can have that dialogue, it does just by sheer numbers and likelihood create the more of an opportunity to learn and understand than if
you can also create that environment without having an environment where Nazis can have a dialogue.
Well, yes, but Nazis need to understand why they're dumb fucks, right? So, like, if we want to help Nazis understand why they're being stupidity heads, then we need to first and foremost.
Is that the technical?
No, I don't think being a Nazi savior is something you just take up as a hobby.
I'm not saying anything about being a Nazi savior. I left the Catholic Church for a reason.
I want to redirect this. This is getting way off. It's going circles.
As far as like framing it so it could be a fucking better argument for Dooby, no, I'm not doing it. I'm literally trying to get like what is the objective of fucking Dooby's server, not trying to make him sound like this good guy or anything.
I'm gonna be real with you, right? I don't care about his server right now. I'm curious. A lot of people have made accusations that he is a fascist. And I want that to be the center, right? Like I want that to be. The
center. I think when your definition of equality involves including Nazis, that sounds like a great something a fascist would also sympathize with.
I thought this was going to be like questioning say more so Whick and involvement and I thought this was like a call in about like platforming.
If you want to talk about me, right, you may, but
Whick.
But you might go to the void.
No, you're fine. But no, you can criticize me directly, sure. But right now we did change it a little bit because Dooby came in and did a lot of accusations towards Dooby, and so we made that the focus.
All right, so I have one real quick. Whick, I felt like when you did that Kanye panel, it was kind of like, did you get any did you reach out to any Black people at all? Did you try to? Because you just had a fucking group of white guys.
It count.
Okay. So Dooby, you remember Dooby who was on earlier? I reached out to him, but he was busy.
Okay. What about what about anybody else? Like just Dooby or?
No, just him pretty much. But I only needed one spot at that time, and I basically shotgunned it to a bunch of people, and I think it was Kevin Logan answered first. So Kevin Logan on.
I would say we've talked about this in the DMs about how representation matters, and how if we don't have anybody of a certain group on when we discuss these issues, it'll make us look it'll make you look bad, right? Sure. I think Portland is getting the gist of that, right? Because he read a study and people called him out for that.
No, Polly called him racist earlier.
And I mean, it's not the only fucking person. I heard 𝓓𝓮𝓻𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓷𝓽𝓱 called him racist too.
Yeah.
I'm going
to say that's not a fair characterization of Portland is burning. He's not.
Yeah, listen, if 𝓓𝓭𝓪𝓽𝓻, the man who did digital blackface, is calling you fucking racist, and I don't know,
he's
what the fuck.
He's doing it for the memes. He was doing it to the argument. Dooby, please.
So I think I called him racist too on that panel, but I was actually just joking. I thought it was clear that I was joking. I don't think he's a racist. I think he just expressed his position clumsily, which happens sometimes.
Okay, so I wanted to let Chris, because Chris said he had something for me, so I want to let Chris go.
Not so more like criticism, but I just want to know a clear goal of what you want to do with what you want to do with this platform.
So for me,
because for me, on the outside looking in, it's more of these conversations are fun. So people are different groups of people who join in and argue together. It creates interesting dialogue, and it's clear entertainment value, and I understand that. I get that, right? I'm I try to stay away from these spaces, but something in me just wants to come back and keep arguing with these people. But I have to get over myself with what I want these spaces to be, because I can't make that happen, right? These are not my spaces, right?
If I may, just very briefly, right? I'll give this spiel, right? So again, I'm not here to de-radicalize everyone. Like it's not a dedicated de-radicalization space. But what I am trying to do is provide a space where people can have their beliefs challenged. Diversity of thought is the diversity that I'm looking for most of all here. I want people to come away and hear a wide variety of opinions on a topic. Some they may not have taken seriously before, and hear people who will argue them effectively. And I want them to challenge their ideas, and entertainment is a part of it. If it's fun, great. I hope it is, right? And if I can make some money, I hope I do. And speaking of which, give me money, because this is annoying, and I want money, gang. So give me goddamn money if you want me to keep going. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, and like I think we're gonna keep getting these like people complaining about it, and like I understand Nine-Tails' complaints and their wants for the space. I just like we do this run over and over this topic over and over again, and I just want people to realize like. Yeah, you want a safe community. This can't happen in these types of spaces with these types of goals. That just you're gonna run into people who are gonna come in who are fucking shitters or who are fucking evil people that you're gonna have to like deal with having to kick. If you want to have these type of spaces, that's what you're just gonna have to deal with. And no matter what, no matter how much we like criticize Dooby or like say he's evil, which the space he runs is like very evil. It's fucking terrible, and I wouldn't recommend anyone go into it. But like, it is what it is. We like, I understand this now, right? I'm gonna criticize and I'm gonna fucking like go off on any one of these people who come in with some like shit views, but that's about as much as I can do. And other than that, if I need to, I'll influence and like tell people who I think aren't safe in these spaces not to come here, right? I'll do what I can to make sure they know these aren't safe spaces to be in, to like have like the type of conversations they want. So I think if you don't like the way these spaces are run, you should take take yourself elsewhere and take the people you think aren't safe in these spaces.
So how many spaces do I have to start forming friends in before Dooby shows up, and then I can no longer go there?
And before we address that, Nire Socks, Changebox, thank you both for the gift subs. If we get one more individual gift subber, we can get. Oh, we just did Hype Train, so give me money, gang. But to address, I agree with you. I agree with you, Chris. Like if someone is legitimately does not feel safe, or if they are extra sensitive, like my space is, I said this earlier, my space is not for everyone, it's for anyone. Anyone who wants to and who likes this kind of stuff can come in, and they're free, right? But not everyone's going to want to, and that's okay, because it's good to have a wide variety of different spaces, right? We could agree on that. Like we need spaces that are safe, right? And we need spaces that are unsafe.
They're not even people. They are subhuman creatures.
Okay.
It's not a matter of sensitivity. It's just a matter of experience that a lot of people who enter your space aren't warned that, hey, if you make friends here, you might also get pushed away once like these characters show up, because there is no real way to warn people of that. And it's usually a very upsetting thing. It's not actually your server that's happening. It just happened to me in another server already, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way about being in another space too, where it's just like, it gets to a point where I just couldn't be there, right? And that's okay, right? And I influence other people, or I try to like talk to other people.
Can you also admit for Dooby to say that he has no responsibility is ridiculous?
I can't do anything about that. Right?
No, for him to say he has no responsibility. No, Cosmic, I'm not asking you to do anything, Cosmic. I'm just asking you, is it ridiculous to say that he has no responsibility for his impact on the state?
It is, but I don't care at this point, right? It is ridiculous, but I don't care, right? It's what Dooby's Dooby.
I'm not asking you to care. I'm really not.
Okay. Dooby has a question.
So I'm just trying to figure out like what the line of this like the standard is, because someone that I had like a pretty brief like connection to is Brittany from Politically Provoked. We actually set up a like a space on the server for them, like on the Discord server, for them to set up their debates, because their Discord server kept getting deleted. And I offered like, hey, why don't I? So it seems like Discord doesn't like you. Why don't I just give you a space on my server so you can set up your debates here, and that's it. But it was pretty quickly we came to realize that like her community is actually full of like full-on Nazis, and unfortunately Discord would not allow Nazis on the platform. They used to, but after Charlottesville they stopped, so I can't allow Nazis on my server, not openly anyway. So, and to be clear, I wish I could, like, to be super clear about that, because I like arguing with the Nazis. It's really funny. But so we had to get rid of her channel, get her little group off the server, just because it was too risky. Discord TOS, all that shit. But Ninetales, you've been on her panels a lot, right? And her community, I think, it's just full of Nazis. So would you apply the same standard that you're applying to me to yourself? Would you say that it's irresponsible for you to go into communities right now?
I do,
have,
in
like,
fact.
They're not even people.
So you don't enter other communities?
Well, no. When I go on her community, I make sure my community is isolated from that. So I don't promote myself on her community. I absolutely refuse to do that. And the last time I streamed anything was the Bryce and Gray thing, because I figured some people would want to see that. But the pop-ons I've been in have all been private. Nobody's seen that I've been on there except for Brittany's server. And I honestly, it's a trade-off for me, because I don't like the fact that she seems to make money from the hate donations.
Well, I mean, hold on, but it's not difficult for people to find you, right, if they want to. So if
they're not going to find Nazis, they're not going to find me on Politically Provoked through there, and vice versa.
I mean those Nazis.
And vice versa.
On server to find you.
Vice versa, like my community is not an easy to access place, especially not an easy place to get into and then start saying the wrong stuff. I'm very critical of anybody in any of my spaces, to the point where I'm very unfriendly for a reason, because if you're saying things that seem to me like off, then I'm going to push that. I'm going to question it. Right. So unlike you, who's more of like a passive actor and all this, I'm a very active person, and I'm aware of what I'm doing. So I'm making sure that I catch any threat. It's called vigilance.
But you're not criticizing.
I also do consider myself accountable for anything that happens.
All right. But you're not criticizing me for going to your community. You're criticizing me for coming to, like, Whick's community, for example. And you're in here in Whick's community. What's to stop?
At this point, I'm criticizing you for having no sense of accountability.
Well, please,
are you a child?
Because it seems like if you're here, right, in this community, there is some chance that some of those Nazis from Politically Provoked, who found out who you are, who hate you, might come here and interact with Whick's community in a way that's negative. Right. So
my Twitter, by the way,
for you to be here,
my Twitter, which is searchable, my Twitter is not one of those places. Because I don't have a community on Twitter. I just use that to put my thoughts out there, to be honest. My Discord, though,
but you're here on
I've only given Discord links to people in the server who I've had direct interactions with and who I trust.
Right, but you're here on in Whick's community right now.
So it's the literal exact opposite of you, Dooby. It's the literal exact opposite. It can't get more polar opposite.
Okay, so again, you're not criticizing me for going into your community. I haven't been in your community.
You're right. I'm criticizing you for having no sense of accountability for your actions.
Okay, so I'm in Whick's community.
Grow up.
And I understand that you're upset that some of the Nazis or whatever from my server might come here because I'm here. So what is to stop the people who hate you, who saw you on Politically Provoked, who now
I'm the one who stops it, because I take accountability and I'm vigilant about it. I'm the one who stops it.
But how do you keep them from coming to this space against your will?
This space, the server, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, then why is it okay for you to be here, but it's not okay for me to be here?
Because again, I don't let anybody who I meet here, who I don't get to know over a while, into my space, and they're going to be more. So there are layers to which people just don't get in there. I have to basically feel like I know them a bit, which is a big thing.
They don't need your permission to hop into Whick's Discord server because you're here.
Okay, I wanna give.
You can claim it's equivocal, but I think you're reaching, and these are mental gymnastics.
Tuna has to go. Tuna, thanks for trying. So
no, it's fine. I think that something that's being missed here by both partially Doob and Ninetales. This is entertainment. I do not think that if Doob is a fascist or a Nazi, that if he's just online, not doing hate crimes, not doing Nazism, that it's the same thing. So when we take it very seriously, we talk about radicalization. Honestly, the most de-radicalized that person can be is become a basement-dwelling Discord user. So in the end, it might be a de-radicalization.
Nazis are entertainment. Thank you. So Nazis are entertainment. Nazis are entertainment, and
the producers. It's a whole. Mel Brooks, the producers, it's a whole ass movie about how entertaining Nazis are. The first person who was saying in the entertainment space that do we make fun of Nazis? Mel Brooks said,
Do you think
well,
people can criticize that for being irresponsible in its handling, or do you think because it's entertainment, everybody has their hands clean just magically?
I think that it definitely, you should be looking at the pieces of media on a case by case basis. But if you're going to look at Mel Brooks as the producers, even the 1960s version, the whole point and the premise behind it was Mel Brooks said, I fought Nazis in World War II, so I'm a Jew. I get to make fun of them.
It's
I literally
a real
fought.
example of satire,
Okay.
unlike Discord, which is not real satire.
Well, I mean,
just stop.
Media changes.
Stop.
That's all.
Stop. We can have real Discord on we can have real satire, real Discord on satire. We real satire.
Yeah, but it's clearly not going to be responsible with Dooby around.
I wanted to give a chance to what's your name? Ethanos?
Hi guys. So my name's 𝓓𝓮𝓻𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓪.
Hello.
It's like Thanos, like Ethan and Thanos, 𝓓𝓮𝓻.
Okay.
This one right here is called Wonderwall.
Nope. Okay, come on,
Terrible song.
weaponized
What the
discourse. Nope, that's not the time for that. Okay,
Come on, Oasis.
funny.
90s.
Haha.
Brit
Good job.
pop.
Jesus Christ.
No, I like grunge better. Let's
Like
be
garbage
honest here.
song. What the?
I like grunge more,
we
so
can, we can all convene on that. Gang, we are winding down a little bit. This has been wonderful, but unless I get a huge amount of
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
I
wanted to ask Ninetales something because like Dooby hit on something, and I think she should have really Dooby is like dodging responsibility, and it's whatever he wants to do that's his choice. But Ninetales like jumping into politically provokes space and acting like people won't follow her from there into other spaces, that's kind of hypocritical. And politically provoked space, that space is fucking terrible too. Even worse, no one in that space is unaware of where they are. They know what they're there for. So I don't know. If you're gonna criticize Dooby for doing this thing, which I do, I think it's wrong, but it's what it is. What it is. You have to hold yourself responsible too. I don't think anyone should be going in that space at all, because you do it's unavoidable to be dragging people from that space. They come through all the time, and they have to be banned all the time. Fucking Britney spaces are like a fucking cancer that will never go away.
Can I ask you guys a question though? Because and this is also broadly extended to the chat to basically everyone, because this conversation, it definitely seems to be very common online, depending on the spaces that you occupy. It does seem to be a very frequent thing happening currently, but it does make me sort of curious because it reminds me of a conversation that I had in real life a couple of years ago at when I used to work at Starbucks. And I was a supervisor there, and I remember sort of when a lot of the political sentiment started to change, people were asking if a Nazi comes into the store as a Starbucks employee, do you still have to just serve them the coffee, whatever the coffee is they want, or whatever their order is? And the conversation was really sort of mixed at my store on this, because certain people were like, well, if he's just gonna pay, if they're just gonna pay for their coffee and get out, as long as they don't say anything that is explicitly anti-Semitic, they're a customer like everybody else, don't they deserve to
still?
Can I
ask a question on that? How would they know?
Yeah.
Are we talking about someone in a
well
Nazi
that's
uniform,
well that's exactly it. So I asked how would you determine and how would you be able to actually tell if the person is Nazi? But it opened up this really interesting conversation, because I think it does kind of connect to what we're saying, is that for the same reason in real life it's difficult to tell if that person is actually a Nazi or not, if they're just coming into the store and they're just gonna buy the thing and leave. I extend that question to you guys on Discord and these other digital platforms. Would you not, if you were that barista, would you not serve that person that you believe is a Nazi? Why or why not? Because I feel like everyone clearly has their own opinion on this, and that's why everybody's kind of going back and forth on both sides.
Look, if you walk in covered in swastikas and stuff, I'm kicking you out my fucking store. That's just me.
Even if but they're not saying because I think the conversation, I remember we said it was if they have it on a t-shirt, but they're not making any direct comment to their t-shirt, that in the same way that I'm sure there's some Star Wars fans that are really pissed at me right now for wearing this shirt, but I'm not saying that Star Trek is better, even though it is. I'm just existing.
Difference. No, come on, Amanda. That's ridiculous.
But in the same question though, like if somebody is just wants to sort of interact with the world and they have a difference of opinion, are we always going to be quick to push them away, or are we just going to kind of wait until they do the crazy thing and then push them away?
Yeah.
Like for example. Well, I was just gonna maybe send like direct comparison to like Star Trek and Star Wars, but you could look at like a religious worldview like Islam, right, or like deeply like Christian or Catholic people. They have very very terrible opinions on like LGBT people, women's like roles, etc. Right?
Yeah.
The like opinions that I think are like abhorrent, right? So if a devout Muslim comes into my shop. Yeah, I can understand that he probably holds terrible opinions on things, right? But he's still just a dude. I think people are entitled to their terrible opinions so long as they're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, no, I'm curious because I think people have very different areas in the sand that they draw with that one. Because I have my beliefs, but other people see it completely different.
I wanted to allow space to our new person.
Hello,
Sick.
How are you?
Is that how you say Sick?
Yeah, that's how you say it.
Okay, Sick. What criticisms do you have of Dooby here? Come on, make them good.
Okay, so I've not been listening to the stream because I was on my phone before. I don't know how often you platform Nazis, but if you don't do it very often or at all, you probably should, because it sounds like a lot of your chat and a lot of the people who come on, like Polly, don't actually know how to recognize what an actual Nazi is.
Oh, well, teach us, Padawan. What is it? How do we recognize an actual Nazi, and why should I platform them?
It sounds like people minimize Nazi down to bigotry and down to transphobia, down to racism and stuff like that. Nazism has elements of fascism and nationalism, and they're very exclusionary in the sense that somebody might view transphobia or maybe racism and stuff like that. But the methods by which they participate are much more sinister than saying an offhanded joke or saying some offensive comments on Twitter. It sounds like everybody's just way too fucking soy and they need to grow a pair.
Chris, do you want to deal with this one? Come on, Cosmo.
This is dumb. Like, you don't need to have Nazis in the space and know what they are, and we know why. Like individuals like Ninetales and others like use the word the way they do, even when a lot of times someone's not fully a Nazi. It's because like they are trying to provoke a response out of people to get certain people.
No, they're saying Nazi because people don't give a good representation of what a Nazi fucking is.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's a cop out. It's like super fucking weak. We all know what Nazis are. Like we've all look.
I don't know.
I don't know how. Like I guess like I don't know if you've known some like a lot of these streamers for a long time. Like Ninetales knows what a Nazi is. She spends time with them. She just admitted it in politically provoked space. Like she knows who they are, right? But Ninetales as a person is a provocative person who uses this terminology like in this language purposefully to like cause a response to get people to act in the way they want or need people to act, right? And a lot of times, right, all you need to do is click like 2 or 3 boxes for them to like call you a Nazi. I don't think that's like necessarily correct in what they should be doing, but I understand why they're doing it, right? So like we can't like stop using this idea that no one knows what Nazis are, so we should have them around so we can get a better understanding with them. This is such bullshit. Like we don't have all sorts of Nazi fucking literature floating around, or like movies and things. So, like you'd see the ideology like throughout history. Like this has been a part of our culture. Like every part of media, we've had like things discussing what Nazis are. We've had them in our faces for so fucking long. We all know what they are. You go through school, primary school, like learning about this shit. Like this isn't hard. I don't like this is such a big fucking cop out. Just because
it's not a cop out.
Just because Just because you get called a Nazi by some rando on fucking Discord one time doesn't mean much of any fucking thing. They can't like it doesn't.
Well, that's exactly it. That's the problem. Is it doesn't mean anything. Like
Yeah, because it's fucking no. No matter what most people say on this shit, it doesn't mean much of anything because it can't affect you in your real life mostly, unless you're being harassed or some shit or like actual harm being done to you. But like this isn't necessary.
Then isn't it a bit of a pointless and needless conversation to sit here and talk about something that isn't actually that much of a problem? It's only really a problem if you occupy certain spaces and you stay in certain echo chambers. But like you're saying, to that point, if we sort of like actually get out into the real
It is
world,
a problem. It is a problem in these spaces, but is it enough of a problem to where you want to deal with it, right? And for me, it's a problem, but like I understand the problem, and what I can do is just come in here and shit on these people as much as
I'm sorry, but this whole thing, the problem is that we know what a Nazi is. We see Holocaust history. We understand that, but the issue is that we broaden the scope of what a Nazi is so much that it includes so many people that are not Nazis. And what happens is when we go on places like Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that, the comments about Republicans being Nazis is not ironic. That is what these people think. And they might not think that they're out there genociding Jews or genociding black people or trans people or anything like that. But the issue is that we're taking one really specific definition of a person, of a human being, that really encapsulates maybe thousands of people in this country. And then we're expanding those qualities, individual or maybe just a couple of them, to millions of people in this country. And then we're touching those two concepts with one another. So that way half of the country all of a sudden becomes Nazis. That is the issue. And you're saying, well, no, people know what Nazis are. No, but they call more people Nazis way more than there actually are inside this country.
Of
for
course,
sure.
People do this with all sorts of language. Like they've been doing it with trans people and calling them groomers and shit like that, right? We've had
That's
this.
a different. Those are two different terms, though.
Housekeeping, guys.
The issue
Amanda,
here,
you're in charge till I'm back because I got.
Oh God. Okay, guys.
I'll be 2 minutes.
You better be on your best fucking behavior. All right. There's a lady in the house. There's a women. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, come on, guys. If we're gonna be so scared about Nazis, like, aren't I technically a Nazi? So you're already hanging out with one. Oopsie.
The way your voice is like overwhelming everything. Yeah, it's pretty fascistic.
I'm pretty fucking Nazi. I mean, like, my mom was a grammar Nazi, so you know, like, at the end of the day, like, we can all be a Nazi in our own way. We all come to our own fascism in our own opinions.
I've come to the understanding that this is not an academic space. This is more of a space where fucking normies join in and they use like language like normies do. They don't have a full understanding of everything, right?
Hey, listen, who you calling a fucking normie, all right? I've been on the internet since 2003. I had a Yahoo back in the day, I'll have you know.
That's congratulations.
I don't really know if I qualify.
If you want to combat the misusage of the language, you combat the specific people you misuse in the language, right?
Yeah, I think you guys
Nazis to be around to do that. You can just combat those people who you think are misusing it the wrong way, right? And educate them however you think that should be done. But you don't need fucking Hitler to be in the Discord in order for
yeah, but I mean, like, you're gonna have kind of like these kind of like anomaly people like me or others who have this kind of like more of a nuanced take. But like, if anybody goes in and says like, yeah, my grandpa was like SS, everybody gets all pissy at them. So like, how are you gonna have that conversation? There's no space. Like, there's no space to actually have this dialogue, especially on the internet. And if you,
what do you mean? This dialogue has been happening for years. We're in it. Like, what are you talking about?
And none of us can seem to really pinpoint what we consider a Nazi. So I don't really know. But last time I checked,
you can't. But like
everybody has a different opinion of what a Nazi is on here.
No, so that's not what.
Let's go around in the circle then. What's a Nazi?
We're not gonna do that. No, like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, no one wants to do that.
Wait, where did she go?
Start with Viv.
I didn't voice.
Did we just trade one soul for another?
Did you possess Amanda? Have you like co-opted her?
DC.
No, I can't possess anybody.
That's unfortunate.
I'm literally
Viv is here. Viv
I
can
don't
give
know
it.
that I believe that anyways.
all my possession energy is like focused on controlling my familiar.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Hopefully Amanda can hop back in. Hopefully whatever happened, I didn't kick her, okay? I promise. And because I wanted her to give, if she needed the space to tell people where can find her, I wanted her to do that. But anyway, carry on, please.
Oh, yeah, Viv's here. They can give a vivid detail of like what a Nazi is. But like, again, you don't need Nazis in this space to educate people on who they and what they are. If you have an issue with how somebody's using the term, like deal with that person and like confront that person on how they're using it. But like, you don't fucking need Nazis in here for everyone to see what they are, because a lot of them are fucking crypto these days. They're not gonna just out and say they're a Nazi, right? Why would they ever fucking do that? Right? They're going to push their ideas and their goals through fucking sly means to where like for people who don't really understand it to like grab hold of that. Like they're not gonna be just like they're gonna like come in like I'm a Nazi. Like that's not how they work, right? Some people do. They're gonna be trolls and come in and say just like outlandish shit, but that's not all the time. And like if we just like tell everyone like if we just show everyone like just these the classic face of a Nazi of like, oh, like we said, someone said it like the other night, just goose stepping around, fucking Heil Hitlering, like that's not all they are, and that's just like an old school picture of it. They've evolved heavily, and you don't need them around to have the discussion.
I want to, since Dooby's here, right, and Viv was talking to me yesterday, right, in fact, about how you did everything short of calling Dooby a Nazi. So I want to have him have a chance to address any accusations you may have against him.
Do you? Okay.
I do.
I mean,
so go ahead.
I don't really have much to say to Dooby at all. I don't think having conversations with Dooby is particularly productive or has a point to it, because I don't think that he's an honest actor. I don't think they'll tell you the truth. He'll tell you something, tell somebody else something else. And, you know, that's just how it works. I also didn't say.
So you're just going to discredit him just off the rip. Like
sorry, who's that?
Hi,
I'm sorry, I have no idea who the fuck you are. Who are you? I'm
a human being. What's up?
Okay, cool, great. That's real good for you. I didn't call Dooby a Nazi. What I said was was that like he acts exactly the way that I would expect like a fascist to act in this space, right? Like it doesn't really matter what Dooby's personal fucking ideology is. His entire career in the Twitch politics space, and arguably in politics in general, has been to like funnel further right-wing people, especially into the Twitch space, right? Further right-wing and reactionary people into the space. Now, you can argue that it's because, Twitch streamers want to have some people to push back against, and we want to have these interesting discussions or whatever. It really, really doesn't matter. If you're a fascist in the online space at the moment, your primary objective is to like try and flood as many platforms as possible with people like you, and not all those people are going to be goose stepping in. Some of them are going to be fucking memeing around, but like ultimately that's the function that Dooby serves. As for his like politics Discord server, like that place is a fucking joke. The idea that like Nazi views get challenged in AMAs where people get to ask a question and then the Nazi gets to rant for 10 minutes is absurd to me. This is not a format where their views are being challenged at all.
So do you platform Nazis to challenge them?
Do I?
Yeah.
I don't typically interview Nazis at all, no.
So you would rather somebody like Dooby be willing to, as you're saying, pull a bunch of right wingers and a bunch of Nazis onto his platforms to give them a voice and not be challenged?
No, I said he funnels them.
So you wouldn't challenge them yourself. You wouldn't challenge them yourself to offset that, though.
I said he funnels them into the Twitch space, right?
So can we have some examples of people that are like began on his platform and rose to prominence to
How long
any
do you
type of
have?
scale
Well, I
whatsoever.
mean, he spoke earlier about how much he assisted Britney, so I don't need to really go into that in any kind of fucking detail. You can just like replay the VOD and listen to the examples that he gave. Why would I'm not interested in getting in a huge fucking argument about like, is this person like a fascist or not, or what have you. I can quite happily say these things, and people can play back the VOD. They can look at the history of what's been happening on Twitch. They can see it becoming a more reactionary space, flooded with fucking groypers, and know that this is going on. Right? Like, we can get bogged down in definitions and shit all the fucking time.
This just seems like bullshit, because you're kind of just this whole crypto fascist kind of thing. It's not like it doesn't exist.
I never said anything about crypto fascist.
Yeah, okay. Well, then what are we talking about if we're talking about people who aren't going to specifically say all their views?
I mean, I literally just mentioned a whole bunch of fucking groypers, right? Which, like, it's pretty well known within this community that Britney's community housed, like, a shit ton of America First people, right? Like, that's no joke. Dooby helped hook Prime up with 𝓓𝓮𝓻𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓷𝓽𝓭, I believe. He's looking forward to having an interview with Kanye, I understand, right? Like,
wait, hold on, that's not true.
It's not.
I'd like an email with 𝓓𝓮𝓻𝓽𝓽𝓙, but unfortunately I haven't been able to set that up yet. And there is a chance, small chance. I'd give it like a 2% chance that an email with Kanye will happen on my server, which would be
I know how excited you are about that possibility.
I'm extremely excited.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it would bring a lot more traffic to your server. Your server, which has like
that's right.
Yeah. Your server, which has in the past had connections to like more extreme, one would even say terrorist spaces on Discord, right?
Wait, when you say connections, what do you mean?
Sorry, did you not get doxxed by some fucking terrorists at one point, Dooby?
Okay, so when you say connections, you mean that 𝓒𝓮𝓻 and 𝓓𝓮𝓻𝓽𝓪𝓲𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓽 were no,
we're in your fucking server. Yeah.
I'd like to.
What happened with that?
So when you say, to be super clear though, when you say connections, you mean that there were like actual like fucking Nazi internet weirdos, 𝓒𝓮𝓻 and 𝓒𝓮𝓻 jackass. I'm trying to dox me and my mod team for years, and I ended up getting some of them arrested. So those are the connections you're talking about, right? To be super clear.
I mean, those are some of the connections, yeah.
Okay.
Can you run us through what happened with that, Dooby? Because I feel like the outcome there is probably for the better, right?
I mean, after some years.
I mean, yeah, after some random people on the fucking server that he operates have been harassed by literal neo-Nazi terrorists, right? Like, yeah, sure.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, sure. He provided the arena and the opportunity for the crime to take place, but at least they were arrested afterwards.
Wait, but
that
the
was
arena,
a good outcome.
The arena and the opportunity is the fact that the arena and the opportunity is the fact that the server exists, that any space exists on the internet, right? On Discord. Right. So
no, Dooby. I think your server's connections to other far right spaces far outweigh the average Discord server's connections.
We
to
gotta
far
let
right
him answer
spaces.
answer the accusation. Then you can.
Well,
continue.
like I said, I don't know how much I'm interested in talking with Dooby because, like I said,
that's okay,
he just fucking lies constantly. There's not an honest word that comes out this cunt's mouth.
Okay. So again, these people came onto my server. I banned them, right? And what they were doing, to be super like clear, right? Is we used to call them like the Nazi wizards, right? Because what they would do is they would come on in the middle of the fucking night when we didn't have a lot of mods around, and the server was much smaller back then, but it was still pretty large. We had like 15,000 people or something like that, right?
Why would your mods matter?
So we didn't have any mods around to deal with them, and what they would do
deal with them how?
Well, can I just finish explaining really quickly? What they would do is they would go into the voice channel. They would target like younger guys, right? And they would do the JQ thing, they do Holocaust denial, and eventually they get to the space where they would say, I can't really go into detail about this here because the mods will ban me, blah blah blah. So let's go to this other server, and we can talk about it there. It's like more open, more free. And they'd invite people to like this like full-on Nazi echo chamber server, right? And try to radicalize them there.
Well, Nazi regeneration.
Yeah,
not exactly the first time that's happened. I mean, your server was
all
a
the time
fantastic resource. Yeah,
this happens all the time on Discord.
Okay, so but it happens in some servers a lot more than others, doesn't it, Dooby?
Sure, I'm sure it happens in
because it doesn't really happen in my server.
Than others, of course. Oh, sure, okay. Your server's like I'm sure very lefty. You don't allow lots of people in there. I allow lots of people in my server with diverse opinions, so it's going to be a much more.
You allow a lot of fascists, and
there's gonna be a lot more room for people to target people there, of course.
Yeah.
So when we found out this was happening, we started banning them. They'd make alt accounts, come back. It's very easy to get around a Discord ban. You just get a fucking like a VPN, you get around it super easily. So that wasn't working. They started trying to dox the mod team, including me, because we were like we're banning.
Because you were banning them.
Yeah, and we reached out to Discord. They had nothing to offer in terms of help. No way to do like anything other than just like a Discord server ban. So and then they were trying to like hack the bots on the server, and this is a very well-known group. They actually hacked the official like PUBG Mobile Discord server, framed me for it to try to get my account deleted. Right? They're like really active on Discord. And eventually I figured out a way to infiltrate their group, took note of everything they were doing, and reported them to law enforcement agencies in their own countries, and got a few of them arrested, and they fucked off. I got them arrested for making terroristic threats toward.
I don't understand the point of this fucking story.
Well, so when you say that I have connections to these groups, these are the connections I have. I'm like acting against these groups as an enemy.
I didn't say you have connections, dude.
You said the server has connections.
I don't care about it. Yes, exactly.
So it's ridiculous to say that. It's ridiculous to say that because we were targeted by Nazi jackasses, we're somehow like tainted. Yeah, we got targeted like lots of communities get targeted by people.
Was a recruiting ground for neo-Nazi terror groups, Dooby. That's the story you just told.
If one of them came into Whick server,
with significant moderation, with sensible fucking policies, you can minimize that risk. Right?
Okay,
absolutely. Anybody can fucking... No, you're absolutely right. You can minimize it, but you're not going to get rid of it. Right? But your server maximizes it. And like I say, I'm not interested in having an argument with a server that has been the subject of multiple fucking investigations, both journalistic and legal. Right?
Wait, hold on. What journalistic legal investigations? Can you give me like some details? What are you talking about?
I'm not playing this fucking game.
Okay, so you're just going to say
we had an entire fucking panel in which we discussed one of the journalistic organizations.
Journalistic organizations? You're talking about Unicorn Riot and Antifa. You're talking about Unicorn Riot and
Antifa
and their Discord leaks list, right? And my server was not on there. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Your server was not on there, Dooby?
No, it was not, and it still is not. It is not on the Unicorn Riot Antifa Discord leak.
I'm still, like I said, I'm still not interested in like relitigating a conversation that we had fucking 2 years ago now, while you pretend that you didn't know. You didn't know.
Relitigating this. Stop bringing it up. Stop lying about it. Otherwise, I need to respond to it. And hey, then we're relitigating.
This is just another example of how fucking dishonest you are. Because you began by denying it. Then, when reminded that we'd had a conversation about it before, now you start denying.
Wait, hold on. To be super clear.
So I'm not
Again, I'm going to be super. So you said there was a journalistic organization. What you're talking about is Unicorn Riot Antifa, and the reason I said that wasn't an investigation to my
Unicorn Riot
is because my server.
Unicorn Riot Antifa?
Okay, I can pull it up for you in a bit. Okay, because
server. Do you mean
my server is not on that list? So that was not an investigation into my server. So
I don't understand why you're linking that to my server. It was an investigation that included your server.
No, it didn't, and it still doesn't. You can pull up the list right now. Pull it up. In fact, I can do it for you, and I'll post it in chat, and people can see if I'm wrong. Okay, if that'll help you.
Your server was among servers that were looked at as part of that investigation. And one of the good things about your server DB, is that it's provided endless intel on other servers that exist in the space, because the amount of fucking people who come from far right spaces that also end up in your space. Because it is so welcoming to people who want to talk about the Jewish question, like your mod team did regularly, right? Like, I don't need to. The fact that you brought up your mods earlier, the idea that they're somehow a moderating influence and not just trying to cover your ass from any kind of like activity that might actually just get the server shut down is hilarious to me. I mean, you've admitted before that you'd had straight up fascist mods. So
we still have straight up fashion mods.
Of course
we have ethno-nationalist mods. Yeah, and we also have anarchist mods and extremely far left mods and very progressive mods and just bare.
I mean, most of those extremely far left mods left and like showed us the fucking screenshots of their.
No, that's not true. That was one mod, and he left because he was going to get demodded, right? And it's true that some of my mods make racist jokes sometimes. I'm totally fine with that. I make racist jokes sometimes. Yeah. I don't think it's a big deal.
Straight up JQing in the fucking mod chat. So what you're saying is you have a server full of fascists that is moderated by fascists. And you expect us to believe,
we have an extremely diverse group of people moderating the server.
You expect us to believe that this is somehow a well-moderated space in which like nobody ever gets fucking recruited from, doesn't have any connections to any like fucking insane far-right servers, doesn't act as a radicalization point for anyone.
Can I ask a question?
No, it's a place where people go, and some people will like shift off to the left because there are some lefties who go in there and fucking debate like hell, right? But broadly, it's a place where like far right people on Discord can coalesce and talk about how much they hate
Can I jump in here?
Amanda a chance to ask her question.
I'm just curious because sort of in this vein, I understand the criticism, but then isn't this a job that like should be paid? Like this is labor. Like this is a full ass job. Like how can we expect anybody on any to be
I recognize your name. You're one of the mods, right?
No.
No,
I have
my bad.
Too many jobs. I'm not taking on any more jobs right now.
It's been a minute since I've been in the politics server. I was keeping track of it up until about a year ago. Working on.
I'm a bit of a new face. I'm just asking in this sense, sort of like we're making this criticism like to Dooby, of course, but to sort of pull it back a little bit and look at the bigger space. How can we expect anybody to have that kind of level of due diligence and criticism when nobody's getting paid to be here? And we're all supposed to just assume that everybody's going to come out of their own free will just to be nice and not a dick. But at the end of the day, you can't guarantee that because we don't actually know each other because we're only really talking to each other on the internet. Like, because in the sense of having experience in the marketing world now, as far as it goes, like this is that's a job.
Can I just say?
But
I don't think it's an insane amount of due diligence to say to not have like Nazis, JQers, fascists, whatever on your mod team, right? When you become aware of it, I don't think that's like some kind of insane ask that requires a fucking $100,000 a year salary.
But it's his space if he wants to put certain people in the position.
Cool. Yes, it's his space. He can do whatever the fuck he wants with it. But when I describe what that space is, that's not me saying I think Dooby should change it or whatever. I'm not looking to convince Dooby. I don't think Dooby's looking to be fucking convinced. I think Dooby does what he does for whatever fucking reasons Dooby has for doing them, and he'll give you a million different ones depending on which day it is and who he's fucking talking to. So,
so then, like, how can we sort of like have that guarantee? Like in the same way, like he's an independent person. He's a private. Like a guarantee that Dooby or anybody else would follow this suit. Like you're assuming off of the good-willed natures of somebody that you don't actually know personally.
What do you think my prescriptions are? What do you think I'm?
Well, the criticism that Dooby needs to get rid of these people who are in the moderation panel that you disagree with, that are fascist.
I never said he needs to get rid of them. I said the fact that they exist there demonstrates a lack of ability to moderate fascist content on the server, right?
But so it's his server, it's his right.
Yeah. It's his server, it's his right, but it also
is a place
where like far right people coalesce, where people get radicalized, where terrorist groups try and recruit.
You're kind of being dishonest because you were already accusing him.
How am I being dishonest?
Of funneling. You were accusing him of funneling Nazis into his platform. You recognize that when he talks about getting doxxed by these same people that they're banning for recruiting people into other
You are he's talking about a specific group of Nazis, right? That he had to deal with.
Yes, but the point.
Hold on. Dooby said earlier already he already has people who are fascists, not openly, that he wants these people in there, not specifically that group, because that group targeted him directly, right? And targeted other people directly, right, through like malicious fucking means, right? But he admits to having these people in his server, and he can't have them openly there because Discord doesn't allow it. But he does want them there, just not openly.
Yeah, I do think
fascism's a pretty diverse crowd. There are groups that don't get along with each other and dox each other all the fucking time. It doesn't one fascist.
Well, then it's not very organized. Then it's not really good. Then it's not a really strong community. So that's a pretty good reason.
It doesn't need to be a strong community. All it needs to do is radicalize the right person, and all of a sudden you've got the Buffalo shooter writing his fucking diary on Discord and then going out and fucking murdering a bunch of people. Right? That's all you need.
Could I ask Dooby a question? Is that cool? Okay. If I had to guess, so maybe I'm putting a little bit on my own brain on you or whatever, but tell me if I'm wrong here. Or rather, we'll get to that. Does your motivation for keeping those people around in your server, in your space, however you want to phrase that, does that have anything to do with where they would go if they were not welcome there?
Well, sort of, but not really. So I mentioned earlier that one of the things that these Atomwaffen and O9A Nazis that were targeting me and the mod team and the community for recruitment. One of the things that they wanted to do was they tried to blackmail me into deleting the server because they wanted people in smaller servers, smaller spaces, where they could be radicalized. They didn't like my server because I did have an active mod team and we did have roles. And we didn't allow them to just come in and say whatever the fuck they want. Right. So I don't think, and I'm sorry if you guys can hear my dog barking, I don't think that just getting rid of these people does anything to help them. It does anything to change their minds. I think they just go into smaller spaces where they're allowed to be JQ idiots or do Holocaust denial. I don't think most of these people who do this are actual Nazis. I think they're just edgy kids who found 4chan and are reposting memes. They don't know any context. So I think you actually hurt these people and hurt the wider goal of de-radicalizing, if that's what we want to do, by kicking them out of these spaces where they can be challenged openly and honest.
I think it's pretty inane to even try and profess any kind of solid de-radicalization effort through a massive fucking Discord that's basically a free-for-all for people to come in and scream at each other about various topics. I don't think that is any kind of de-radicalization effort at all.
I mean, you did talk about leftists that go in there and debate like hell. That's literally what you said. There's clearly some pushback against those ideas naturally.
There is some
politics
pushback,
Discord, and presumably the overarching narrative in that Discord is going to be what's most popular, which is typically
which is generally pretty far right shit.
Yeah, it's pretty anti-fascist stuff and anti-Nazi kind of rhetoric.
No, the other way.
Oh, most people are pro-Nazis?
I mean, it's pretty far right shit when you go. I mean, look, I can say whatever the fuck I want on this server, right? You would have to go in there and discover it for yourself.
I've been there. Don't worry.
And I encourage you to.
Cool. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Recommend getting a VPN before you do, in case you get doxxed by a fucking
gang.
Nazi terrorist. Though
This has been.
Surfshark. Come on, everybody.
Unless I can get some financial support right now, we're gonna raid out because that's
fucking pussy.
I'm tired and I'm hungry and I have
I want to fucking drag Yammer in here and fucking kick his ass for his bullshit about fucking Daryl Davis.
$3.
The Daryl Davis thing.
I want
I want to put a fucking nail in the coffin of hearing Daryl Davis brought up in every conversation about fucking de-radicalization. I'm so sick of it. The man's a fucking hack.
Maybe
He's
we
a
need
danger.
a show.
He covers for fascists.
Maybe we
He's
need
a fucking
show
loser.
with that specific topic, because this isn't the first time you brought up your hatred for Daryl Davis, or your disdain, I should say. Hatred may be too strong.
It's fucking annoying because I don't even hate him that much. I hate that he gets brought up so fucking much. I just think he's an ineffective dipshit who ends up covering for fascists.